Welcome back, Music Maniacs. Gibbs here with another episode of Gibbs Drops the Needle, your one-stop spot for all things music. It's the end of the week, so we're going to go over all the charts. And stick around till the end of the episode, because after we get done going through all the current charts, I have the 25 key Billboard moments of the charts for the 21st century so far. So we will also be going through that. A little recap to go over, because when we were going through the passing of Bonnie Tyler, I had mentioned that she made it on the digital sales chart, and I had questioned whether that was still a thing or not. And though I wasn't able to view it because I'm not a subscriber, I was able to see that they still do have a digital sales chart on Billboard. So that is still a thing. And I just wanted to inform you, because I remember when we were going through that, I had questioned whether it was still a thing, being that all music is pretty much consumed digitally right now. So it is still a thing. We will not be going through that one. We will be going and starting with the Billboard Hot 100 Top 10. So at number 10, we have I Just Might by Bruno Mars. Last week, this was number 12, so it had dropped out of the top 10 for a little bit. It peaked up at number 1 and has been on the Billboard Hot 100 for 25 weeks. Dropping down some spots is Drop Dead by Olivia Rodrigo. Last week, this was number 5. It peaked at number 1 and has been on the charts for 11 weeks. Moving up, it had been hovering at that number 10 mark. We have Dracula with Impala and Jenny. Last week, this was number 10, as I had mentioned. It's peaked at number 8 and been on the charts for 40 weeks. At number 7, we have Hate That I Made You Love Me by Ariana Grande. Last week, this was also number 7, peaked at number 1, been on the charts for 5 weeks. Moving up a few spots, we have I Can't Love You Anymore by Ella Langley and Morgan Wallen. Last week, this was number 9, peaked at 6, and been on the charts for 10 weeks. Also moving up, we have Man I Need by Olivia Dean. Last week this was 8, peaked at 2, been on the charts for 45 weeks. Moving back up, we have Janice STFU at number 4. Last week this was number 6. It has peaked at number 1 and been on the charts for 7 weeks. At number 3, we have Be Her by Ella Langley. Last week this was also number 3, peaked at number 2, been on the charts for 20 weeks. At number 2, we have I Knew It, I Knew You by Taylor Swift. Last week this was 2, it's peaked at 1, been on the charts for 4 weeks. And your number 1 song for a couple weeks in a row now is Choosin' Texas, Ella Langley. Last week, as I said, this was number 1 and had been on the charts for 37 weeks. So that is your Billboard Hot 100 Top 10. Now we will move on to the Billboard 200, which is for the albums. Starting off with number 10, The Art of Loving by Olivia Dean. Last week this was number 9, has peaked at number 3, been on the charts for 40 weeks. Also moving down a spot, we have One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. Last week this was number 8, peaked at number 1, has been on the charts for 174 weeks. Moving down again, we have number 1s by Michael Jackson at 8. Last week this was 7, has peaked at 6, and been on the charts for 244 weeks. And we continue to notice the trend of all these albums moving down one spot as Thriller moves down to number 7 by Michael Jackson. Last week this was 6, has peaked at number 1, been on the charts for 725 weeks. Number 6 is The Great Divide by Noah Kahan. Last week this was number 5, peaked at number 1, has been on the charts for 10 weeks. At 5 we have I'm the Problem by Morgan Wallen. Last week this was number 4, peaked at number 1, has been on the charts for 59 weeks. At 4 we have Iceman by Drake. Last week this was number 2, so it's moved down a couple spots. It's peaked at number 1 and been on the charts for 7 weeks. Staying put on the chart, we have Dandelion by Ella Langley. This is your number 3 album. Last week it was number 3, peaked at 1, has been on the charts for 12 weeks. And being dethroned as the #1 album last week, we have You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love by Olivia Rodrigo, moving down to 2. As I said last week, this was your #1 album, has peaked at 1 and been on the charts for 3 weeks. And debuting at #1 this week is a new album. It's a tease with Golden Hour Part 5. This is an EP. Obviously debuting at 1, it's been on the charts for 1 week. And that is your Billboard 200 Top 10 for the week of July 11th, 2026. Next up, we are going to go through the Global 200. For the Global 200, and this is for just songs, not albums, just songs. At number 10, we have Drop Dead, Olivia Rodrigo. Last week this was the #5 song, so it's dropped quite a bit. Peaked at #1 and has been on the charts for 11 weeks. Moving up a spot, we have Beauty and the Beat by Justin Bieber featuring Nicki Minaj. Last week this was 10. Peaked at #1, has been on the charts for 12 weeks. Also dropping down is another Olivia Rodrigo song, dropping to 8, The Cure. Last week this was 4. Has peaked at #2 and been on the charts for 6 weeks. At number 7, we have Swim by BTS. Last week this was number 8. Peaked at #1 and has been on the charts for 15 weeks. At 6, we have Dracula by Tame Impala and Jenny. Last week this was the #7 song, peaked at #2 and has been on the charts for 38 weeks. At number 5 is the #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100, Choosin' Texas by Ella Langley. Last week this was #6, has peaked at 5 and been on the list for 36 weeks. At 4, we have Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. Last week this was the #3 song, peaked at #1, has been on the Billboard Global 200 for 151 weeks. Jumping up quite a bit, at number 3 we have Day Day, which is by Shakira and Burna Boy. Last week this was the #9 song, so it's made a significant jump. Peaking here at number 3 and has been on the charts for 6 weeks. I think we're probably finding that as the FIFA World Cup is entering towards its final stages, more people are probably tuning in to see who's going to take over that, and thus the soundtrack is seeing a little bump. Moving down 1 spot is the #1 song of last week, and that is Stupid Song by Olivia Rodrigo. Last week this was #1. It's peaked at #1, been on the charts for 3 weeks. So we're kind of noticing in all these charts that Olivia Rodrigo has been dipping down. So maybe that initial popularity of putting out a new album, and now that is kind of starting to wear down and you're starting to see her drop down a little bit in these charts. And your #1 song on the Billboard Global 200, moving up 1 spot, is Hate That I Made You Love Me by Ariana Grande. Last week this was #2, has peaked here at the #1 spot and been on the charts for 5 weeks. So that is the Global 200 Top 10. So now we're going to move over to the Artist 100, so the top 10 artists right now. So your number 10 artist of this week is Bruno Mars. Last week he was the #9 artist, has peaked at #1, been on the Artist 100 for 605 weeks. Also moving down a spot at number 9, we have Noah Kahan. Last week he was #8, has peaked at #1, been on the charts for 152 weeks. Moving down a couple spots is number 8, Taylor Swift. Last week she was #6, has peaked at #1, been on the Artist 100 for 623 weeks. Holding tight at number 7 is Luke Combs, who, as I said, last week was #7 and has peaked at #1 and been on the charts for 487 weeks. Moving down 1 spot is Ella Langley. Last week she was #5, has peaked at #1 and been on the Artist 100 for 95 weeks. Moving down a couple spots at number 5 is Drake. Last week he was #3, peaked at #1, has been on the charts for 625 weeks. Also moving down a couple spots is Michael Jackson at 4. Last week he was #2, has peaked at #1, and has been on the Artist 100 for 537 weeks. Moving up 1 spot is Morgan Wallen at 3. Last week he was #4, has peaked at #1, been on the Artist 100 for 382 weeks. Your number one artist of last week is moving down a spot, as we just discussed that she has been moving down in all of the charts this week, and that is Olivia Rodrigo. As I said last week, she was number one, and she's been on the Artist 100 for 223 weeks now. And your number one artist, which is a re-entry, it says, and that is a tease. Last week they weren't even on the charts. They have obviously peaked at number one, but they have been on the charts for 53 weeks. So someone who had dropped out of the Artist 100 and has now made a resurgence and came all the way up to number one within a week. That's a big boost in popularity for them. That rounds out all of the charts I wanted to discuss. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, I have an article by Billboard that goes over the 25 key moments so far on the charts for the 21st century so far. So let's get into that article again by Billboard. It says, as Billboard celebrates the first 25 years of the 21st century with charts recapping the top artists, albums, and songs in that span, we're also looking back at the 25 most noteworthy headlines on the Billboard 200 and Billboard Hot 100 over that period. Since the start of 2000, TV has played a key role on the charts thanks to American Idol and Glee. The Beatles added to their chart-topping legacy. The Black Eyed Peas linked an unprecedented streak at number one on the Hot 100. Adele dominated the Billboard 200 with two blockbuster albums. And Rihanna, Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, Drake, and BTS arrived and quickly made their own historic marks. It goes on to say Billboard's top artists, top Billboard 200 albums, and top Hot 100 songs of the 21st century recaps reflect performance on weekly charts, dated from January 1st of 2000 through December 28th of 2024. The top artist category ranks the best performing acts in that span based on activity on the Billboard 200 and Hot 100. Titles released prior to mid-1999 are excluded, although such entries that appear on the Billboard 200 or Hot 100 in that span contribute to the calculation of the top artist charts. So this article will go back in time to January 1st of 2000, starting there, and it seems as though they have this listed by dates. So we will go through which dates were the most impactful and why they think that these are key moments for their charts. Starting at January 1st of 2000, Celine Dion's All the Way, A Decade of Song, leads the first Billboard 200 of the 21st century. Santana's comeback smash, Smooth, featuring Rob Thomas, tops the first Hot 100 of the 2000s. December 2nd of 2000, the Beatles banked their record 19th number one album on the Billboard 200 with One. The retrospective includes all their record 20 number one songs on the Hot 100, earned in 1964 through 1970. This was an album that when it came out, I believe my sister had purchased, and it was kind of my introduction to the Beatles as a younger person at the time. So this was, at least to me, an impactful album because, as I said, it was my introduction to the Beatles, and I really enjoyed this album. This was one of the first albums that when I got a drum set as a kid, I would sit down and try to drum along with it. So lots of memories with that album in particular. Moving on to October 5th of 2002, Kelly Clarkson's inaugural American Idol coronation song, A Moment Like This, becomes the first Hot 100 number one by a contestant from the groundbreaking series. Quote, some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this, Fred Bronson, author of the Billboard Book of Number One Hits, wrote in that week's issue. He goes on to say Clarkson only had to wait a few weeks to go from unknown to American Idol. The ultimate confirmation of her idol status is her placing at the top of the Hot 100, end quote. This is another one that I remember at the time American Idol came along and just blew up. I think that they still do American Idol. I'm not really sure. It's not something that I really keep up with and watch anymore. But when this show first hit the air, and for many seasons after that at least, it was a huge deal. Everyone at school was talking about American Idol and who they thought should be going on and who they thought stunk and all those things. So American Idol, definitely a big thing at the time. Definitely easy to see why it was such a big moment for the charts. As, like they said, you had these practically unknown people at the time now blowing up and being top of the charts. The next date is February 12th of 2005. It says, for decades, a reflection of songs, radio reach, and physical sales, the Hot 100 by the early 2000s was driven heavily by airplay, with labels then more and more opting not to release hit radio songs for purchase on their own on CD, cassette, or vinyl, in hopes of selling parent albums instead. As online platforms led by the iTunes Store spark a transformation and rebirth of songs' commercial fortunes, Billboard adds digital sales to the Hot 100's formula. That week, Green Day's Boulevard of Broken Dreams is the top-selling download and enters the Hot 100 Top 5. So now in 2005, you have the introduction of the digital sales and what was probably, as I mentioned earlier, the digital sales album chart that would eventually come. And iTunes at the time was really big. Everyone was getting iPods, and you did have to pay per song or per album. Usually a song was 99 cents and maybe an album was $10 or so. So it was around this date that they started keeping track of that and involving that in their Hot 100, which obviously still impacts the charts because of how prominent digital music is nowadays. October 10th of 2009, it says, so 2000 and late, the Black Eyed Peas wrapped a record 26-week streak at number 1 on the Hot 100. Boom Boom Pow dominated for 12 weeks, directly followed by a 14-week command for I Got a Feeling. January 2nd of 2010, the decade kicks off with Susan Boyle's I Dream a Dream at number 1 on the Billboard 200. Kesha's TikTok, before TikTok, is the first Hot 100 leader of the 2010s. I guess I didn't realize that Kesha's song was that old and that it predated TikTok by that much. I am kind of slow when it comes to pop music a lot of the times. As I've mentioned before, I'm more of a rocker. I listen and keep up with that music a little more, so my wife always makes fun of me because I'll hear a pop song or something and I'll say, oh man, there's this new pop song I really like, and she's like, oh, that's been out for 15 years. So I don't keep up a lot, but I didn't realize that Kesha's TikTok was that old. August 27th of 2011, Katy Perry tallies her 5th Hot 100 number 1 from her album Teenage Dream, as Last Friday Night follows California Girls featuring Snoop Dogg, the title track Firework, and E.T. featuring Ye, then known as Kanye West, To the Summit. Upon the coronation, the set joins Michael Jackson's Bad in 1987 and 1988 as the only albums ever to generate 5 Hot 100 number 1s each. No album has since joined their ranks. Katy Perry lived out a dream born before she even became a teenager. Quote, hitting number 1 is always a great moment, but when it turns into a small piece of history, you're reminded of how many millions of people are connected to each other by even one tiny event, end quote. She told that to Billboard upon achieving the feat. Quote, ever since I was 9 years old singing into my hairbrush, I've dreamed very big dreams, but today is bigger than my dreams, end quote. July 23rd of 2012, Adele's 21 claims its 24th week atop the Billboard 200, the most of any album since 2000. January 26th of 2013, Billboard launches the Streaming Songs chart, reflecting the top titles in the US each week by both on-demand and programmed streams. Macklemore and Ryan Lewis's Thrift Shop, featuring Wands, struts to the top of the first tally a week before it begins a 6-week rule on the Hot 100. So we talked about the impact of iTunes in buying digital music on this album charts, and then you reach, 8 years later, that now digital streams are making an impact on the Hot 100. October 26th of 2013, with its cover of the Bob Dylan pen To Make You Feel My Love, the Glee cast charts its 207th and most recent Hot 100 hit, the most among non-soloists in the chart's archives. The TV troupe arrived in June of 2009, led by its signature take on Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. This, like American Idol, was something that when it released, everyone was talking about. I was a show choir kid, and everyone in show choir was obsessed with Glee, and it was one of those shows that you rushed home and watched, because if you didn't know what was going on in Glee the next day, you were left out of the conversation. So no surprise here to see that it was making an impact on the charts. December 13th of 2014, the Billboard 200, long reflecting the most popular albums of the week based on pure album sales, shift to a multi-metric consumption model, incorporating on-demand streaming and digital track sales in addition to album sales. Taylor Swift leads the list, dated the same day she turns 25, with 1989. Again, you're just seeing the progress of music consumption taking over the charts, with Billboard having to recognize new ways that people are consuming music and ways to gauge their album charts based on those. December 12th of 2015, Adele's 25 blasts atop the Billboard 200 with 3.38 million copies sold in the United States. The largest sales week for an album since data tracker Illuminate began tracking point of sale music purchases in 1991. It surpasses NSYNC's No Strings Attached, which held the record for more than 15 years, having soared in with 2.42 million sold in its first week in March of 2000. March 5th of 2016, Rihanna collects her 14th Hot 100 number 1 of the 2000s, the most among all artists in this century, with Work featuring Drake. September 2022 and 2018, Drake's In My Feelings tallies a 10th week at number 1 on the Hot 100, and his unprecedented 29th week on top in 2018 via his 3 leaders that year, following Nice for What and God's Plan. He passes Usher for the most time atop the chart in a single year, after Usher logged 28 weeks at number 1 in 2004. August 17th of 2019, Lil Nas X's Old Town Road featuring Billy Ray Cyrus ups its total to a new record 19 weeks at number 1 on the Hot 100. This was one that I think was helped by the fact that it was a cross-genre popular song. You heard it on new top 40 stations and you heard it on country stations, so it was able to cross over, and I think that reflected in the charts of just how many people it was able to reach and really gain popularity. January 4th of 2020, Harry Styles' Fine Line leads the first Billboard 200 of the 2020s. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You decorates the top of the Hot 100 to begin the decade. That song becomes Mariah Carey's 19th number 1, the most among soloists, and the first holiday hit to jingle to number 1 since the Chipmunks song by the Chipmunks with David Seville in 1958. Brenda Lee goes on to add the third Yuletide leader, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree from 1958, over the 2023 holiday season. My wife despises that All I Want for Christmas song so much. It's something that when it comes around every holiday, the kids and I mess with her and play it just because it annoys her. She's not a big Mariah Carey fan, and that song is just annoying to her, so we like to bug her with that song. September 5th of 2020, BTS's Dynamite detonates atop the Hot 100, making this superstar septet of J-Hope, Jimin, Jin, Jungkook, RM, Suga, and V the first all-South Korean group to ever lead the list. And they are still topping the charts as we've went over these charts, and their songs and albums are still making an impact. November 23rd of 2021, thanks to a record 57-week run in the Hot 100's top 10, from February of 2020 through April of 2021, including 4 weeks at number 1, The Weeknd's Blinding Lights is crowned the top title on Billboard's Greatest of All Time Hot 100 Songs chart, dating to the weekly list's August 1958 start. The Weeknd would say, quote, "I don't think it has hit me yet. I just count my blessings and I'm grateful." October 22nd of 2022, Glass Animals' Heatwave spends a record-breaking 91st week on the Hot 100. Along the way, it traversed the ends of the chart, debuting at number 100 in January of 2021 and notching 5 weeks at number 1 in March through April of 2022. November 5th of 2022, Taylor Swift becomes the first act to hold number 1s through 10 on the Hot 100, all from her album Midnights, led by Antihero. She would say, quote, 10 out of 10 of the Hot 100 on my 10th album, I am in shambles, end quote. March 23rd of 2024, Extraordinary, at the age of 98, Ariana's grandmother, Nona, formerly Marjorie Grande, becomes the senior-most artist ever to have appeared on the Hot 100 as Ordinary Things debuts. The song from her granddaughter's LP, Eternal Sunshine, closes with a clip of Nona imparting advice as she reflects on her late husband, Frank. Quote, "I always record my Nona because you never know what she's going to say," end quote, Grande would say. May 4th of 2024, Taylor Swift holds the top 14 spots on the Hot 100, the most for an artist from number 1 on down in the list's history. All tracks led by Fortnite featuring Post Malone are from her album The Tortured Poets Department. May 18th of 2024, Drake adds his record-extending 78th Hot 100 Top 10, Family Matters. He initially reached the region with his first entry on the chart, Best I Ever Had, in 2009. November 30th of 2024, Shabuzi's A Bar song, Tipsy, hoists a record-tying 19th week at number 1 on the Hot 100. December 28th of 2024, Stray Kids' Hot tops the final Billboard 200 of the first 25 years of the century. Concurrently, Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You shines as the highest ornament on the Hot 100. So again, my wife would be so happy about that. And that is your key moments that Billboard put out about the last 25 years of the 21st century. I ask that you please like, subscribe, do all the good things to help me out. I really appreciate it. You can search me up on any social media platform and give a like and comment there if you want to. That's all I got for you this time about the charts. Until next time, I'm Gibbs. This is Gibbs Drops the Needle. Stay safe and be kind.